At the altar, Logan Bennett, New York's young millionaire, was abandoned by his fiancée, turning a dream wedding into the greatest heartbreak of his life. Under the harsh judgment of society, he thought everything was lost. Then came Hannah, a humble girl with no status but a heart full of warmth. Together they faced rumors, rejection, and the relentless pressure of his glittering world. But can true love really conquer wealth, pride, and public opinion? To prove that happiness is not measured by money, but by the courage to love and be loved. New York. A dazzling evening. Hundreds of elite guests sat inside the Sterling Ballroom at the Astoria Grand Hotel beneath sparkling crystal chandeliers, casting a golden glow over designer gowns and tailored suits. All eyes were on the moment they had been waiting for. Logan Bennett, a young billionaire and CEO of Bennett Enterprises, was about to marry Victoria Hastings, a woman from one of the city's most prestigious families. Logan had it all: wealth, power, status, and tonight he was supposed to secure the perfect marriage. But beneath his composed exterior, something felt off. Meanwhile, Hannah Brooks, an event planner, moved efficiently behind the scenes, ensuring every last detail was flawless. She had no interest in the grand romances of the rich and powerful, unaware that this night would change her life forever. Just when Logan thought he had everything, fate had other plans. The string quartet began playing Canon in D. The guests rose to their feet, eyes locked on the grand double doors where the bride was set to make her entrance. Logan Bennett stood at the altar, his custom-tailored tuxedo fitting him to perfection. At 37 years old, he had built an empire from nothing. Bennett Enterprises had made him one of the most powerful men in New York, and tonight was supposed to be the crowning moment of his personal life. "You okay?" Ethan Foster, his best friend and best man, whispered. Logan nodded slightly, but deep inside an unsettling feeling grew. He and Victoria Hastings had been together for 2 years. She was beautiful, sophisticated, and from the right family. Their match was perfect, at least on paper. The double doors opened, but instead of Victoria in her wedding gown, her father walked in. Charles Hastings stepped inside alone, his face pale and troubled. Logan's chest tightened. Something was wrong. Charles approached quickly, his voice low enough for only Logan to hear. "Victoria wants to see you, now." Whispers rippled through the crowd as Logan stepped away from the altar, following Charles down the hall to the bridal suite. When he opened the door, Victoria stood by the window, her flawless makeup now streaked with tears. "What's going on?" Logan asked, his voice tense. He stepped closer, eyes searching hers. Victoria took a shaky breath before finally looking at him. "I can't do this." Logan frowned. "Can't do what? If you're nervous, that's normal." Victoria inhaled sharply, then finally met his gaze. "No, Logan. I can't." The words hit him like a physical blow. "What are you talking about? There are 300 people out there waiting." "I know." Victoria twisted the 5-carat engagement ring on her finger. "But I'd rather hurt you now than trap us both in a marriage that isn't right." Logan's mind raced. "Is there someone else?" Her silence was all the answer he needed. "Who?" Logan demanded, pain and anger tightening his throat. "It doesn't matter," Victoria said, softly slipping the ring from her finger and setting it on the dressing table. "What matters is that I can't pretend anymore." She moved past him, pausing at the door. "I'm truly sorry, Logan. You deserve someone who loves you completely." And then she was gone, leaving Logan alone with the crushing weight of public humiliation and private heartbreak. At the far end of the ballroom, Hannah Brooks moved swiftly between tables, ensuring everything was in order. She had worked in event planning for 5 years and had seen countless extravagant weddings, but never a disaster quite like this. A hushed murmur spread across the room. Charles Hastings stepped onto the stage, clearing his throat. "I regret to inform you that the wedding will not be taking place today." Gasps filled the room. Some guests whispered behind gloved hands, while others exchanged knowing glances. The media already present snapped photos furiously capturing what was sure to be one of the biggest scandals of the year. Poor guy. someone muttered, eyes fixed on the stage. Victoria left him at the altar, Megan Reed, an event assistant, whispered. Hannah winced, but she couldn't let herself get distracted. The job still had to be done. Hannah coordinated her team, directing them to clear the untouched meals and ensure the champagne was accounted for. As she passed a small side room near the ballroom, a faint sound made her pause. A deep, heavy sigh, like a heart breaking in silence. Hesitating for a moment, she gently pushed the door open. Inside, Logan Bennett sat slumped in a chair, his bow tie undone, a glass of whiskey swirling in his hand. The powerful, composed businessman the media adored looked nothing like the man before her now. He looked like someone who had lost everything. Hannah knew she should walk away, give him space, but something in his eyes made her stop. "Mr. Bennett," she spoke softly, "can I get you anything?" Logan looked up, as if only now realizing she was there. "Unless you can turn back time, I don't think there's anything anyone can do for me today." He forced a smile, but it failed miserably. Hannah sighed, her gaze filled with quiet empathy. "I'm sorry for what happened." Logan let out a dry, bitter laugh. "Are you? I'm sure plenty of people are enjoying this." Watching Logan Bennett finally fall. "No one enjoys your pain." Hannah's voice was gentle, sincere. "And you don't have to pretend to be strong. At least not right now." Logan stared at her, and for the first time all night the carefully built walls around him started to crack. "I don't even know what happened," he admitted, his voice rough with exhaustion. "Everything was perfect. Or at least I thought it was." Hannah hesitated, then took a seat across from him. She didn't offer meaningless comfort, just silent understanding. Sometimes what looks perfect on paper isn't perfect in reality. Logan studied her. She wasn't like the people he usually interacted with. She wasn't awed by his wealth or power. She was just a stranger offering kindness, expecting nothing in return. For the first time that night, Logan didn't feel completely alone. A few days later, Logan Bennett stumbled upon Hannah Brooks' business card, the woman who had sat quietly with him that night. On impulse, he dialed the number. "I just wanted to say thank you." Logan's voice held a rare hesitation. "You didn't have to stay that night, but you did." Hannah chuckled softly on the other end. "I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did more than that." The conversation was brief, but for the first time since the wedding disaster, Logan felt an unexpected sense of calm. He didn't know why, but Hannah had a presence unlike anyone he'd ever met. What started as a simple thank you text turned into an invitation for coffee, and soon they found themselves talking more often. With Hannah, Logan realized something different. She wasn't drawn to his wealth or power. She was just herself. Hannah told Logan about her life, her small apartment in Cambridge Heights, her night classes to finish her teaching degree, and her niece and nephew whom she adored. "Why teaching?" Logan asked one evening as they sat on a park bench in Central Park. Hannah smiled, her eyes lighting up. "Because I believe education can change a child's life. Do you know how incredible it feels to help a kid read a full sentence for the first time?" Logan had never thought about it that way before. But hearing her speak, he realized there was something so genuine, so real about her. With Victoria, everything had been surface level, but with Hannah, it was about things that actually mattered. For the first time in years, Logan found himself wanting to chase something that had nothing to do with money or success, and that something might just be Hannah. Coffee dates turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long evening walks through Central Park. With every moment together, Logan realized Hannah was unlike anyone he had ever known. With her, he didn't have to wear a mask. He could just be himself. One late evening, as they sat on the grass watching the city lights, Logan finally spoke. "Hannah, I've never met anyone like you." She turned to him, a soft smile on her lips. "I hope that's a good thing." Logan took a deep breath. "I don't want to pretend anymore. I like you, Hannah. Not because you're different from my world, but because you make me want to be a better version of myself. Hannah's heart pounded as she held his gaze. Are you saying... Logan gently took her hand. Be my girlfriend. Hannah laughed softly, intertwining her fingers with his. Logan, I think I like you too. For the first time in a long while, Logan felt truly happy. Hannah had never imagined love could happen so unexpectedly. But with Logan, she felt free, cherished, and most importantly, herself. But that happiness didn't last long, because the harsh reality of his world came crashing down. The next morning, as Hannah arrived at work, Megan rushed toward her phone in hand, breathless. Have you seen the news? Hannah frowned. No. Why? Megan turned the screen toward her. The front page of a gossip site, From the Altar to a New Love, Logan Bennett Dating Event Planner. Below the headline was a photo of Logan and Hannah at a coffee shop last week, his hand brushing lightly against hers. Hannah's stomach dropped. The comments were brutal. So this is Logan's rebound, yikes. She's clearly using him. From a billionaire fiancé to an event planner, that's a serious downgrade. Hannah swallowed hard, her chest tightening. It wasn't just strangers talking. It was her colleagues, her classmates, her neighbors. The whispers behind her back became suffocating, like walls closing in on her. Was this what her life would be like if she stayed with Logan? Her phone rang. It was Logan. Hannah, I'm so sorry, he said the moment she answered. I didn't think this would blow up so fast. Hannah took a deep breath, her voice steady. I know. This is part of your world. But I'm not sure if I can get used to it. Logan tightened his grip on the phone, his voice firm. You don't have to. We'll get through this together. But Hannah wasn't sure if love alone was enough to fight against the world. 3 days after the article about Logan and Hannah went viral, Victoria Hastings showed up at Hannah Brooks's doorstep. That evening, just as Hannah returned to her small apartment in Cambridge Heights, the doorbell rang. She opened it. Victoria Hastings stood there. She was still poised, elegant, but carried an air of unshakable superiority. We need to talk. Victoria stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Hannah crossed her arms. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Victoria glanced around the modest apartment before pulling out a check and placing it on the table. $3 million. Hannah frowned. What is this? Victoria offered a cool smile. An opportunity, Hannah. A chance for you to walk away before this gets ugly. Hannah stared at the check. You really think I'm with him for money? Victoria let out a soft, patronizing laugh. Women like you always are. Maybe you think you're different, but sooner or later Logan will realize you don't belong in his world. Hannah clenched her fists. And if I say no, Victoria leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, then you better prepare yourself, sweetheart. The press will rip you apart. Your colleagues will turn on you. Your little teaching career, it'll be over before it even starts. One phone call and every school in the city will know you're nothing more than a gold digger. Hannah took the check, then tore it to shreds right in front of Victoria. Keep your money. I don't want it. Victoria's expression darkened, but she simply shrugged. Don't say I didn't warn you. Victoria walked out, leaving behind an air of cold finality. Hannah knew she had turned down the easy way out, but she also knew the real battle had just begun. Less than 24 hours later, the news exploded again. Victoria Hastings appeared on live television, her eyes rimmed with red as if still heartbroken. I tried everything to make it work, she said, her voice trembling. But Logan was too distant, too obsessed with work. I couldn't stay. The host nodded sympathetically. So he never made time for you. Exactly. Victoria sighed dramatically. And now, just weeks after I left, he's already moved on. Hannah's heart clenched. Victoria had just painted her as a cheap replacement. Hours later, Logan stormed into Hannah's apartment, his face tight with anger. She's lying. But Hannah wasn't so sure anymore. Was love enough to fight against the world after Victoria's interview aired? Things only got worse. The public perception of Hannah was now filled with doubt. No matter where she went, she could feel the judgmental stares. Even her co-workers started looking at her differently. During her night class, she overheard a student whispering to a friend, "That's the girl from the article. She must be using him." Hannah pretended not to hear, but deep down it hurt. Logan wasn't going to let this stand. That evening, he showed up at her apartment. "Hannah, I'm holding a press conference. I'm setting the record straight and defending you." Hannah looked at him, worry in her eyes. "Logan, if you do this, they won't leave you alone." "I don't care," Logan said firmly. "I won't let Victoria or anyone else control this narrative anymore." The next day, Logan stood before the media. For the first time, he addressed their relationship publicly. "The recent rumors are completely false," he stated confidently. "Hannah Brooks is not a replacement. She is an incredible woman, and I'm proud to have her in my life." Reporters fired off questions. "What about Victoria Hastings' accusations?" Logan smirked slightly. "Victoria is entitled to tell her story however she wants, but I have the right to tell the truth. And the truth is, I have never been happier than I am with Hannah." The news of the press conference spread quickly. Public opinion began to shift. People started seeing things differently. That night, Hannah received messages from some colleagues. "I misjudged you. Hope you're doing okay." She stared at her phone, emotions overwhelming her. When Logan arrived at her door, Hannah didn't say a word. She simply threw herself into his arms, holding him tight. "Thank you for fighting for me," she whispered. Logan pulled her even closer. "For you, I'd fight the whole world." After Logan's press conference, public perception began to shift. The negative rumors faded, replaced by admiration for a man willing to fight for his love. But to Logan, this was never about his reputation. It was always about Hannah, the woman he loved more than anything. Even though things had settled down, Hannah still had doubts. One evening, as they sat on the balcony, she turned to him. "Logan, even if everything seems fine now, your world still feels so far from mine. I don't want to live a life where I always have to fight to prove I belong." Logan was silent for a moment, then took her hand. "Hannah, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to change to fit into my world. Because if you're not in it, I don't want that world." Hannah looked at him, her heart pounding. "Are you saying—" Logan took a deep breath, then stood up, pulling her with him. Under the soft glow of city lights, he dropped to one knee and pulled out a small velvet box. Hannah gasped, tears welling in her eyes. "I used to think my life had to follow a perfect plan," Logan said, his voice filled with emotion. "But when I met you, I realized none of it mattered without you by my side. You taught me how to love with my whole heart, how to put love above success. Hannah Brooks, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Hannah's face, but this time they were tears of joy. She wasn't afraid of their differences anymore. She didn't care about the world's judgment, because in this moment it was just her and Logan, and a love that had overcome everything. She nodded, her voice shaking. Yes, I will." Logan chuckled softly, sliding the ring onto her finger before pulling her into his arms. They kissed under the night sky, the city lights shimmering around them, a moment frozen in time, a moment they would never forget. 1 year later, at a small seaside wedding, Hannah walked down an aisle lined with white flowers, her eyes locked onto one person, Logan, the man who had become her entire world, not for status, not for wealth, but because they were meant to be. As they exchanged vows, Logan whispered, "Thank you for choosing to stay." Hannah smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Thank you for fighting for us." They kissed as the sound of crashing waves and the applause of family and friends surrounded them. And so their love story, a love worth fighting for. A love that never needed proving. A love written in the stars, began its happiest chapter yet. If you were Hannah, would you have the courage to face public pressure and fight for love? Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between your heart and security? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story could inspire many others. Thank you for supporting the channel. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.